Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna show you how Chinese people call ourselves. This may surprise you that actually we have many ways to call ourselves, and each of them has a slightly different meaning. If you are interested in our culture or you're already up to some level, you need to go deeper, go further, this is gonna be important. The first one, 中国. 中国. 中 means the center and 国 means the nation. So together it sounds like China is the center of all nations. This one is the most official and common one used, and we always pick the 中 to describe Chinese thing. For example, the Chinese food, we call it 中餐, 中餐, and the language we're speaking is 中文, 中文. But this one is not as old as people expect, even the Chinese people, because it was roughly just a little bit more than 100 years old. So before that, where are you from? You become like the name of the dynasty. So let me explain a little bit. Like, if you ask an Englishman where are you from, like no matter like Tudor or Stuart or Victoria, you're still from England, right? But if you ask a Chinese man like more than 100 years ago, he may say, I'm from Qing, I'm from Song, but he won't say I'm from 中国, because this word we will use to say this is our country. So the next one is Han. Han. As I just said, Han is the name of the dynasty. The time is 202 BC until 220 AC. As you can see, it's pretty early and long and stable. So during the time in Europe, Roma is still the center of Europe, but in China is Han. So I think this is the first time that Chinese people really build up the concept of being a Chinese. So when people say, where are you from? He will say, I'm from Han, I'm a Han people. Even from now, for the most of Chinese people, Han is an ethnic concept. So most of us is Han people. So when we need to fill the forms like what is your ethnic, most of us is Han. And because today we have many other ethnic like the Mongolia, the Jin, the Zhuangzhu, other things, but the most of us is still Han. So Han Dynasty is very important and very early and very original. So a lot of Chinese culture thing, we won't choose the Zhong, we will choose the Han. For example, Chinese language, we just say 中文, but also it could be hanju, the language of Han, hanju. And also like the expert of Chinese language will be 汉学家, 汉学家, but not 中学家. Maybe 中学家 is another thing. And the Chinese character we say 汉字, 汉字, not 中字, is 汉字. Another very important thing is 汉服, 汉服, because it became very popular recent years. So hanfu looks like this, means the traditional original Chinese clothing. And here comes the third one, Tang. Tang, pretty easy, right? Just like Han is the name of the dynasty. As you can see, during that time is the medieval time in Europe. So Rome is no longer the center of Europe, and before William Conqueror take the England. And so in the west, you got the super rich and powerful Byzantine. So in the east is Tang Dynasty. Because Tang Dynasty, according to the history, is our best days. Chinese people are really open-minded, and a lot of foreigners come to have a business, and we have a lot of writer, poet, artists stay in Chang'an and today's Xi'an. And because of that, Tang is something that Chinese people are really proud of. So when we use the Tang to represent Chinese, usually is something that something we really proud of to be, something about the culture. For example, the Chinatown, as you can hear, the town just sound like Tang, so we pick up the Tang as the name of the street. So in Chinese translation is 唐人街, the streets of Tang people. And it also could be something else like Chinese food. Sometimes we call it 唐餐, or something Chinese style clothing. We call it 唐装, but doesn't have to be during the Tang Dynasty time. 唐装 is like kind of old school Chinese clothing. And also pretty common in Cantonese area, like 唐楼. 唐楼 sometimes means that building mixed with Chinese style and Europe style. Finally, let's move on to the last one, is 华. So, Hua is not the name of any dynasty. Actually, Hua could date back to the very beginning of our civilization and before any dynasty was born. So, Hua could means that the name of this Chinese place. Actually, Hua is a character with very good meaning. So, originally it means the flower. So you can see the upper part is the flower and the lower part is the cross. It's like a tree. So together it's like the flower opening on a tree. And then the flower usually is the most important, most beautiful part of the whole tree, right? So Hua also means the essence of something. In English-speaking country, Chinatown is 唐人街, but in Japan, because we can understand Japanese and Japanese can understand Chinese, so they will choose to use 中华街. It's more professional, more maybe beautiful, because they choose the word 中华. If your level is good enough to read Chinese news, sometimes when you see a foreign politician came to China, visiting China, and they will use the word 访华, visiting China. So comparing to visiting 中国, visiting Hua sounds like more elegant, more posh. And most importantly today, when people say I'm a 华人, I'm a Hua people, means that he is not a political Chinese, he is ethnic Chinese. So it's more like the overseas Chinese, like ABC, BBC, or some Chinese, but actually they live in Singapore, Malaysia, that kind of Chinese people. We call it 华人. Why is important? Because Chinese is very complicated. So some people will just live in China, born in China, so that is one kind of Chinese. But we still has a lot that live in other country many years ago, many generations ago. So sometimes when you think, oh, this is a Chinese people, they must be speak Mandarin. But if they move to another country generations ago, and maybe they can only speak their mother tongue, their dialect. Like you can see in a lot of American and Canada, they can only speak Cantonese, like me. So because they move out from Canton maybe 2 or 3 generations ago. Okay, that is all for today. Hope you can enjoy it. See you next time.